word stuff.
Just thought I'd catch us up here.
Okay, so basically I've just updated David, but I'll tell you guys what I'm doing right now is with the 2020 version of the 209A with Caroline sent. There were some differences, so what I did is I relabeled those to bring them in line with what the original PDFs were, and now I'm just uploading them on GitHub. I made a separate branch under Michelle's guidance called 209A Stitch Up PDFs, and basically she's guided me through this process because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm just doing that, and I'm putting in comments on what's changed, if they have changed, and then if there hasn't been any change, then it's just a formatting. Hi, Michelle. Then it's just a formatting change, and I don't think that affects anything, but I could be wrong. So I'm just saying if it's just formatting, then it's just formatting. If it's any content, say a checkbox was removed in the new form or a checkbox was added, I've just indicated that because I think that it might affect the code. The code might need to be updated. Is that right, Quentin?
If anything was added or renamed, relabeled, we'll change that. I saw you wrote all those down already. So that's
yeah. So I'm just basically putting those into the.
It's also that like for the complaint page too, the probation copy was removed.
Yeah.
So you have to remove the fields that were.
The second.
I guess if you have extra fields, it doesn't matter, but it'd be nice to clean up. I don't know if it'll error.
Right. And this is the newest version they've put up on the website now.
Yeah. Caroline sent it to me, and it's primarily like largely the same. There's just new fields for defendants cell phone and email, and then there's one or two new things on each form which I've indicated, and I've almost done like a track changes, like a very informal track changes. So that's going to be on GitHub, and I'm just going to finish doing that when we get off this call. That's where I'm at. How's everyone else going? Where are we at? Quentin, I know, did some great work over the weekend.
He's gone. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he did. He's gone now.
He did some stitch up. You did some stitch up, Quentin.
Just had to unbuckle Henry. Yeah.
I showed Laura Gal what existed to date, and she was really impressed. She had some feedback that some of it was stuff that I know is like already being dealt with, and the things that I wasn't sure about, I think I put on like the bug report form and tried to say like, talk about this with Laura, or I messaged Caroline, one of them. Caroline, you're mute.
Report.
What?
So I looked at, when you say the bug report, you're talking that spreadsheet. That's the one you did on set. Have you put more stuff on there since May 1st?
Maybe one more this morning that I don't think was important. Really,
was not important.
Probably not.
But
Laura and I, so Jesse Aquino, who's like, I think she's from MOVA, but kind of heads up the Safe Plan program, which is like an important DB player. We're gonna talk to her. Laura's talked to her a little bit. You know, she had some of the concerns that I think Caroline has raised, and that I think we've put a lot into addressing. But on Wednesday, our hope is to be able to show Jesse kind of what we have, to hopefully kind of get Safe Plan happy.
That's great.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
so that would be really big.
The bug report thing. So what happened was, Michelle, maybe we can both speak to this. You put it on Zapier?
Zapier is how I mean, it doesn't matter, but yeah.
And then it went to GitHub as an issue, right? And then Quentin, you didn't want all those issues, so we closed those issues. But what's happened is that we're going to have some volunteers go in, and Michelle's told me how to tell them how to do this. Basically, relabel the issue. Sometimes it's not going to be. Sometimes it's just feedback. Sometimes it's a bug report, or sometimes it varies of what it was. So they're going to go through that and see if there's anything that we need to look at. That's where the bug reports are going at the moment. That's my understanding of it, right?
Well, I mean, they're also still being submitted to the spreadsheet. They're still being put on the spreadsheet.
A different spreadsheet than from what Kate did.
Huh?
A different.
No. Same spreadsheet. It's if you look at the spreadsheet now, it will be very messed up. But they are going on the spreadsheet as well.
And then from the spreadsheet, do they automatically go to GitHub? How do they get to GitHub?
When the spreadsheet changes or updates or gets a row added, when the spreadsheet changes, then it will be, the new row will be sent to GitHub. Or if the row gets changed, it will be updated. What?
So no one needs to look at the spreadsheet anymore.
Basically,
Okay.
I mean, except for me to debug it when it goes wrong, right? Like,
But yeah, so basically how it goes through to the issues is it says like survey line or survey row 26 or whatever. So we basically want someone to go in there and give it a more descriptive name and say like bug relating to whatever. Or if it's something that's already been closed, then they can just put closed : whatever it was. Just so that we have a history of those things on GitHub and trying to keep everything centralized so that we can avoid having so many forms in so many different places. So that's on the bugs. And then I don't know what else where everybody else is on. Maybe Quentin can speak a bit of the Stitch Up.
It's going really well. So I think it worked really well for Caroline and I to do like that kind of paired programming to get through it. We've gotten through most of it. We obviously have some language stuff. I'm just going to go through. It's going to just be repetitive, like going through, making sure things look right, removing fields that we accounted for on 2 different or 3 different forms that are really the same, and syncing those up.
And now, what effect will these new PDFs have on that? Nothing. It's not going to mess anything up.
If we renamed fields, we'll have to change them just on that where the PDF attachment was being filled in. So on that part of that file that maps the fields to the PDF names, fields, we'll have to make sure that those are in sync.
And then testing wise, you said that we can't run these as individual. It's going to have to be a full.
No, you can run them as individual as long as we set up the files to be run as individual, and I can talk to you about how to do that. Like, unless something you've done has broken that, Quentin.
So what our focus on is getting all the logic to work in the main Stitch Up interview. And sometimes that meant commenting out variables that were in one file.
Right, but that can be accounted for when we set them up to run the individual interview, right? Like the setup I showed you, right?
As long as you have those variables defined in a different way in the file, it can run. But we'll have to do that. And so I didn't delete any lines unless the behavior completely changed. I just added in a comment at the beginning of the line so that it wouldn't run.
But
sure. Yeah, it doesn't. That's
sorry,
yeah,
Matt.
that's not
sorry.
Important.
But Michelle, if we artificially add in variables that were commented out, aren't we?
Let's have this as a separate discussion. That's not, because this goes into details and this is accounted for, and I can explain to you how it's accounted for. Okay. So either you can take my word for it, or we can discuss it at not like the check-in. I think that's not an obstacle, and if you want, we can discuss how.
I just want to make sure the way we're doing it, if it doesn't change the original file in a way that
not change the
then it's fine. Yeah, there's lots of ways to get the testing done different ways.
Yeah. Okay. And then does anybody else have any blocks that they're experiencing or anything like bottlenecked? Matt?
Not a bottleneck, but the word is coming down from my day job that I need to transition out of such an intense role. So it looks like where that's going to end up is more like 1 day a week on this as opposed to full time. So I'm telling you that now because obviously we need time to, well, I don't know. I've been taking a step back. So, but yeah, there's unfortunately like a lot of stirring in the air that says there's going to be a lot of consumer debt work to do very soon. So.
Oh, you think the First Amendment argument's going to prevail?
I think
what about the federal?
Then I think either they're going to prevail or like either we really do reopen June 1st, right? In which case there's going to be a flood of stuff then that we need to start preparing for now, or we don't. And society's tolerance for these emergency protections that our clients are benefiting from is going to wane significantly, I think. And so we need to be able to, either way, we need to start preparing for that now. That's my take on it though. It's not necessarily informed by anything.
That being said, if you can think of a situation where an automated form would be helpful to you as an advocate, even if it's not something that's directly sent to the court, or if it is something that's in the court, that is something we should definitely think about.
Yeah, we already, we don't have to talk about it now, but I have thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think this pool of people, definitely David and myself, are happy to work on those issues. That was part of our original batch idea. We didn't get many consumer forms to start.
Well, and the interesting thing is that our goal is to make sure that a lot of our stuff is not classified as an emergency. We kind of most of our stuff we want to keep a low profile, but there are some things that we don't. But I don't want to waste time.
But yeah, even then, the point is, as we move into phase 2, not everything is going to necessarily have to be an emergency.
Yeah.
Especially if this lasts for June through June.
Yeah.
That being said, the courts are. I can't ever speak of the court as one object. It's like so many different things. So it's like we're still waiting for paperwork. I go back and forth between being optimistic and unoptimistic. The reason I bring this up in relationship to Matt's comment is that now it seems like the district court, which before has been like non-existent, now they sort of started looking at the housing court stuff, and they're like, oh, you mean you can do stuff like that? Oh, maybe we. So
Which
the
is
district court
awesome.
might decide that they want to do some more stuff, which would be great if they did. But we're trying to make sure it happens in a way that does not slow anything else down.
And I will beat my drum in as gently as possible in terms of I will saying that it is not necessarily awesome that the district court always wants to do stuff. Not all court business facilitates access to justice in the way that you
No, although
I know we realize that, but
yes, and I would also say that we are primarily under the auspices of the. No, I'm in a call right now. We are currently under the auspices.
Just see Quentin running away to chase down Henry.
We are.
Smacked by Henry.
This is going to be great footage for our documentary.
Yeah. So I would say that I'm sorry, I'm unlocking a phone.
Yes, sorry, you would say?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh, we're under the auspices of the Access to Justice Commission. So I think that our focus post-emergency is clearly access to justice.
Yeah.
So there's also we're all volunteers. So no one's working on anything that they don't have a rationale for working on. So the court may have certain things they would like, but they are confined by the resources we have available, and that's a bunch of legal aid attorneys and
students, volunteers. I mean, it's not. Yeah.
I mean, I think Matt's we're being recorded, so but I think we understand
everything that needs to be said, David.
Yeah, everything that needs to be said has been said.
Okay. So maybe we could just etch out. We've got 10 minutes left. A rough guide of what it's looking like this week. I know, Matt, you've said that you need to focus on your day job.
I'm in a weird spot for the next couple days because we're in a bit of a holding pattern and things could explode in the next couple days. So I can do tasks, but I don't want to become central to any processes. And we don't have to discuss that now. I'm sorry.
So we can use you. We can say, Matt, would you please, do you have capacity to assist us with this? Or we can ask you to do stuff like that. And if you don't, then you'll just say, I can't.
Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe help train people up for processes.
Yeah. And that's, I fought to keep to keep my foot in this to do that. So that people could continue to ask me questions and expect that I would be available and to train people up. So.
Okay. That's great.
And FYI, I'm getting close to putting out some position listings for like pro bono help with law students for the summer, and we expect that we actually can fill like as many positions as we ever would want.
Oh, wow.
So the question is really how well we can have something that would be how much we can actually use a law student. So whether or not they have all the skills we need to fill all. I mean, they're going to fill only a subset of roles. So the question is, what roles can they fill? But we could have I don't want to say unlimited supply because it's going to be constrained by supervision, but we have what may functionally be an unlimited supply because we can do as many of them as we have other folks to deal with. So think about that in the training process. And to the extent that we think about them, not just as we've used law students in the past, but as we might be able to train them into doing stuff. So to the extent we can teach people some DocAssemble or teach people some stuff. That's
what I'm thinking is they don't have to become experts in the entire DocAssemble, but if we can teach them enough that they can do portions of it, it might be beneficial. And also the thing is, the law students that I've talked to, 3 of them have said that their summer associateships or summer programs have just been cancelled, and that they're willing, they need stuff on their CVs. They can't have sat around for a whole summer. So if they can contribute to this project and take something away, I think that's going to be really beneficial. And I think that people are willing to learn about DocAssemble. What is Quentin doing? It's just crying.
I'm trying to hold Henry up so he can see the garbage truck. He's very excited by it. I'm listening though.
No.
And I would love to, dedicate some time every day to help people learn DocAssemble. That's something that was one of my goals that I haven't done as much of as I'd like to.
And that is something that Quentin sent a link to one of our volunteers, Adi, which had some DocAssemble classes that I think Quentin had prepared, and that was really, really helpful. So if we could, I've kind of tried to adapt the guide to that, to include that, but I think that, if I think what you're looking for, David, is like targeted postings of like, this is what we're looking for. Is this something you'd be interested in? And I think we've already got a few law students, but I think that there's definitely a use for people who are interested in learning. They might not, or probably won't have the skills that we need.
I think there are a lot of other skills we need that are not DocAssemble programs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of them. Like we have so much testing to do. We have so many issues we're going to need to deal, like GitHub issues we're going to need to deal with. There is a lot of busy work to do. Believe me.
So here, let me take the temperature here then. So let's say that I had slots. Basically, I could either get part-time people for 20 hours a week, or full-time people for 35, 40 hours a week. How many of those would you want to take on?
Oh gosh, I'm not a manager. To take on, I would like to take
how many of those
none
would you like to? How many can you in your role, like if we're gonna?
David,
do you think we could accommodate?
I think in the conversations that I've been having with Maeve, Kate, and Michelle, what has come up a lot is the fact that, a lot of that depends on, how much SME review do you need Kate to do?
Yeah.
How much coding do you need Michelle to do? How much individual wrangling of volunteers?
Yeah. So I guess the point is, how much work do you think there is? I guess is the question. So as far as the SME wrangling bit, I think Kate, actually, we have, I think Laura's actually got some ideas of some good other SME folks we can bring in. So I think that basically what we can, so I guess the point is we have this pipeline where we can draw in law students, however many we want. We probably, especially while the courts are still closed, draw in SMEs because there are a bunch of people who want to do something and they can't do their cases right now. So we have those two pools. The thing that we seem to be low on, or at least I don't have a pool to, is developers or people who could serve in that role. So the question is, can we train any of the pools we have to serve some of that role? And then given that the limiting resource is people like Michelle, what does that mean?
I know you can't see me, but I think I am less busy doing back-end engineering stuff than I was before. And I would like to spend some time training people up on those skills. And I think that the answer is we can do that if the forms that we're doing are all one-page forms that don't have tables and stuff, which I think we have plenty of those to do. We just haven't focused on those recently. I think that the amount you need to learn to do those forms is relatively discrete, as long as there's no really complex logic to fill out the form. The more of those we get up, the better. And I think it will be a useful thing for students to learn how to do.
So let me put it this way. If I asked for 6 Noels, would that be a good starting?
I don't know Noelle very well.
You do.
I mean, Noelle. I've met her. I just don't know much more.
Oh, she's brilliant.
That's awesome.
She is like a detail, hardworking, and she was also an SME in guardianship because in her clinics she had done a lot of that.
So I think it does matter if they are Noels, or if they're it also, we might want to create more of an maybe not an interview process, but a process whereby we filter who goes where, right? So we want to understand who has what capabilities and what kind of skills they come with already.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is,
so like
go ahead.
and the other thing is, as far as like we're just asking who we could use, supposing we had all the project management we wanted. Okay, so that's
one nice thing is one of our summer students is a career changer who's going to law school, but has been a project manager in tech for
that's
many
amazing.
years.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So so that's another role to look for. Like several project managers would be great.
So we have at least
because we
one
need a
person with
volunteer
project management.
coordinator, and we need like I can write you a list.
Please, could you actually write me a list?
I could write you at least part of a list.
And send it
What
to
if
me,
we
because
all
what
like
part of a
wrote
list.
down discrete things that we do that could be given to law students?
Yes.
Yeah.
To law students or to people with skills?
Well, it depends. And then like we could say like this job would require skills versus like I can think of like part of what I do, which is just kind of trying to poke the other SMEs to make them answer things. That could be done by a law student, I think. Like just like keeping
as long as they
like,
have
these
soft
are the SMEs
skills.
involved.
Okay. Like if I were that law student, then that would not be true.
Yeah, we also have to remember that when we talk about our law students at Suffolk, we often are talking about career changers because we have the nighttime program. So we may be talking about people who actually come in with other skills relevant skills from their professional work. So the point is, let's not filter it based upon what we think a law student looks like.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. So we'll all just write down the skills or the things that we could pass on to people, or but maybe it's what our role entails, what we've been doing.
Or what you've seen.
Or what needs to get done.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Because what I'll do is I'll put them in. We have a job listing platform. This is our last week of exams here at the law school. So after this week, I'll put these on the job listing platform, and then people will ask for them. We've been able to find some work study money. So if students qualify for work study, we can pay for like 2 of them, and then other people can do pro bono stuff. So I can be selective about who we choose to put in those roles. So as long as we have something to put out there, and then we'll see what we get back, and then we can select what we have. So I think we've got funding for 2 work study students, and we can maybe get some time. There are already some RAs that have been hired for the library who have, libraries basically offered up that their time might be available to help as well. And then there are a bunch of students, as Maeve had said, whose summer plans have sort of gone up in smoke, and they want to do something. So maybe doing a pro bono.
And I'd also like to know the urgency of this list, because there's like a lot of things on the list
I was just about to
right
say.
now. So it would be good to know where
I would like to get these listings out by the end of the week, so that we can actually have people thinking about this. Now that being said, you can just do a prioritize, like jot off like 5 things and send them to me in a DM. And then, as more things come across your mind, you can just shoot them to me. So don't, if you want to do it that way, you can do it that way in real time.
How about we like post something on the admin channel, and just like we'll respond to it in thread. I'll reply in a thread, and I'll just keep editing the same reply as I think of things and as I organize priorities.
I think
and then by the end of the
great.
week, you look at it at the end of the week, David, and say, right.
So we know at the end of the week. Before the end of the week, because I want to. I'm going to start
tell us when you're
listing now.
Give us like a couple hours warning when you're about to close down the
I will give you at least a couple hours warning.
Okay.
The other nice thing is it doesn't actually always have to be final, because what will happen is if we fill spots and then we decide we want other things, we can put out for more.
Okay,
it's just, whether or not it's just whether or not we actually can take on more people. And also, to be clear, I would be playing. My classes have now finished, so I can also start to take more of a hands-on role in supervision and stuff.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah.
And a full-time volunteer, 35 hours a week, is really different from someone who you're trying to get and capture their attention, and they might have 2 hours and they go to something else. So we can count on these people, and it's worth training them for that reason too.
Exactly. We can invest in them
for sure.
I like that. Okay, I'm just also very conscious of people's time now. It's 1:00, so I really wanted to just maybe map out what this week looks like in terms of the 209A, as best as we can. I think that would probably start with Quentin's discussion of Stitch Up, and then I don't know, we can go from there. What do you need from us, Quentin?
I think just like more testing. So of course, like it wasn't completely finished, and you might say something that I'll already know about, but that's okay because you'll catch me from finding it maybe before I need to. And language stuff, if that's already and can be merged in, that'll be helpful because the more testers we get, the more testers, even if we tell them, don't worry about the language, focus on like the content, people naturally go to small things in the language. So the closer we get that to being final, the better. And it's just going to be iterative. We're going to keep working, try to not break things every day and make it a little better every day. And I'm feeling really great about this. Like some of the stuff that we have is like pretty unique. Like I think especially like the affidavit is really a cool way that we're building that. I think it's really useful even compared to other states where they have it broken into more questions to start. So I'm feeling great about the project so far.
So testing. We spoke a little bit about this in the beginning. Maybe if people need to jump off, I just wanted to have like a little bit more an in-depth testing thing because I've been writing out test cases and now I'm a little bit concerned about how we merge these together or how I'm supposed to be writing these out given the fact that now it's stitched up, how we're supposed to either, So if anyone does need to jump off, it's, I'm really conscious of people's time.
Oh. All right. So I think first we have to remember that the first one is the TRO.
Yeah.
So I think that just gets tested all. So, right?
Yeah, that's fine. That one, sorry, I was talking more about the 209A, sorry.
So the 209A, we can talk about technically how to set up each individual test to get tested. Is that what you want to do right now? Each individual interview. Okay, so this is how
we do it as individual interviews because, as I said, the testing I did, it was like, they say, you're supposed to be testing for a specific thing, like the login button. And for me, the tests that I had written out were like the whole interview, and there was no way to get around that I knew of.
In some ways there aren't, but again, like we are going to catch some things in individual interviews, and some things that we'll catch will not be relevant to the larger interview, and some things that we catch will be. And there are things that we won't catch for the whole interview, and that we can't write exhaustive tests of the whole interview. We're going to have to pick and choose our battles there.
That's what I was thinking, try and get the best permutations or the most, like, you know what I mean? Like, try and get...
That would be something that might be tests that Quentin is most likely to know what is fragile about the interview as a whole. So we can make our guesses and we can try that, but without knowing the code base more familiarly, that's not a word, but without having more intimate knowledge of the code base, there's a limited amount of guessing we can do about what will or won't be fragile about it.
Okay.
So one thing I'm doing that's worth highlighting maybe is we had that code that fills the PDF fields in empty. Yeah. Some of those are in, some aren't. Kate caught a bug that was related to that. And so what I'm trying to do is to make those explicit in the code blocks. We should test it like that, find anything that isn't set empty intentionally without the marking kind of implicit that we were doing. And
so you'll tell us how to do that, and that would be great. Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to just completely remove that. And so if you run into any bugs where it says it's looking for a variable, let me know. And I'll try to keep doing that. I guess
the question isn't what will we do if we find an error. The question is what we need to do to trigger an error. Like what types of things. So the individual tests, we can say go through and pick one child, go through and pick two children and complete this, et cetera, et cetera. And we can set out what needs to be tested because there's so few relatively few combinations compared to the whole thing. Now, when we want to test the whole thing, we don't have an idea of what is or isn't fragile. So we can't, and there's so many, to exhaustively test that would be so humongous a task. So even to write the test would be a humongous task. So the question is, would be a written out set of things, discrete things that we would test that are most likely to be fragile. Because without either automated or manual exhaustive testing, we guessing at, like, it's not a problem of what we do once we find a bug, it's a problem of how do we trigger the bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that yet. So basically, over 3 days, we went through and did something to get it to run. Essentially, that's mostly what we have right now. It's all running through to the end, except there's some branches you can go down where you might catch a bug still. So that's really what I know. I don't know that, okay, I'm working on this. I don't know for sure if it's fixed it yet. I don't really have the answer to that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, for example, the text boxes that accumulate text, that has a chance of being more fragile than, a true false radio button. But true falses also have their own issues, I understand. There's just things that are programmatically more likely to, and this isn't just for testing now, this is for testing as the code develops. So maintaining something like the accumulating text boxes is more fragile than maintaining something like a radio button. So we're trying to understand what are the more fragile points of the interview. Maintaining show ifs is more fragile than maintaining a straight up radio button, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm just not thinking of any of those that are unique to it being one big interview now. So I didn't introduce.
No, I understand.
So those are great examples, but they're not really unique to it.
That's fair. That's a good way to put it. It's not unique to the whole interview. So yeah, you would know better than I, but apparently that's not something you've been able to assess so far, which I understand. Where there are more fragile parts of the stitching process. That's, I guess, what the question would be, that maybe you can keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I think what you've just said are the big ones. So anything that's showing or hiding, I guess anything that, if it's a logic question that depends on a radio or checkboxes, that can be more fragile, because one thing we need to do is go in and add alternate text for every option so that it has the English version and then like a static thing that will never change. Because when you change the English version of it, first of all, if you're testing against that value, it won't work if you've changed it to make the language better. And second of all, if you are translating it, it doesn't work because you translate that text and it no longer matches the value you're testing against. So that's something I'm going to have to go in through and do systematically. I did that on the affidavit.
So if what you could do instead of actually doing the test yourself is write down the things that need to be done, then we can repeat that process. That's exactly what I mean. I'm
not testing it. I'm going to have to change those, and then you can certainly test those, but I don't necessarily know all those. I want to really try to get
so just write down the ones you come across, right? Note down like this
as
question on this interview, right? So as you edit them and as you spot them, just have a place to jot down what interview, what question, and then we'll know to pay special attention to those.
Or make sure to test it.
Earlier about not getting too deep into the details on this call.
I thought this was the detailed part.
Oh, well.
Sorry, Matt, I did say that if you need to jump off, you can jump.
I'm not,
All right.
my understanding.
Okay.
No, sorry, my apologies, I wasn't clear about that. If you want to jump off, if you need to, you can.
No, I just, I know Lily is here. I know Caroline is here. Is there anything else that needs to be discussed?
I don't have anything else. Does anybody else need anything discussed?
My brain can't generate ideas right now.
Yeah, so I think big picture, I don't know if anyone has a better process than me just like saying, okay, here's this version. I'm going to commit it, try testing it, and then let me know, and we'll try again with the next round of feedback and changes. But the challenge is I'm going to continue working, hopefully,
on the same thing that we're testing, right?
You're testing, testing a static version that won't necessarily have the latest things.
Yeah, we'll do our best. We'll have to, some tests will be repeated when, they didn't need to be, but life is chaos. So I think that's the best we can do, really.
Okay, so I think I've got it with testing. I'm going to send some draft tests. I think Lance has also been working on a draft test case as well. And we've got a test. We've got a testing channel now. Thank you, David, for that. So, and we've added in some volunteers who've indicated that they would be willing to help with testing. And my hope is that they get trained up on the testing and then can actually help us write test cases. Once they see what it's like or how you do it, or
That
how I
makes a lot of
did it.
sense. Because then they can go down one path and they can see that there are other paths that they could have gone down, and they can just describe those. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. So they can say this is the one that we did, and then they can write it. You know, I know it's not ideal that the person who's writing the test, you know, they can write the test and then give it on to somebody else to do the actual test. But it just helps us if they can come up with more permutations of the different ways that the form could be completed. So that's what I'm just going to finish uploading those PDFs to GitHub now with those comments. I don't know what happens after that. Do they get merged? PR?
What are you gonna send up to GitHub? The PDFs?
Yeah, those ones that we talked about.
If they don't have conflicts, then they'll get merged. Avoiding conflicts is also the reason to like have more separate branches, but we can talk about that sometime. I don't think there should be a problem, and if there is, we can just deal with it.
It's just that 209A stitch up PDFs branch.
Yeah, so it won't be and it's going to be new PDFs, so it will conflict, but that's the intent. And I will just need to go through and try changing the variables to match the new labels for the ones that have differences.
It won't have a merge conflict unless someone has also edited the same file, which with the PDFs should only be my complaint page too. So it won't have merge conflicts, but there will be issues that come up with them code-wise.
Right. Got it.
And so I think we might want to write the correction code anyway. We can talk about it. We might want to branch wrangle a bit so that we don't like stop the show with one PDF upload or something like that.
That's what I was nervous of doing.
Maybe you and I can talk about actually how to do separate branches for the ones that have more complex logic now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
So the only thing I would say is like if you guys make changes in,
we won't make changes in the code right now.
Okay.
No changes to the code right now. That's not part of the process I'm discussing. Okay.
I'm just uploading the PDFs with those indications of what's changed.
Yep. And we're gonna just arrange the branches a little differently now that I've had a chance to think about it.
Okay.
And sorry for snapping earlier. It caught me by surprise at everyone, at Matt and at Quentin specifically, but I was not expecting a different picture than the one I had understood. And I don't think there is one, but that's the impression I got first, and that was just surprising. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the video to see that.
All right. Okay.
I'll set a timestamp, guys. Don't you worry.
That's right. Thank you, May.
Timestamp. Michelle
snaps.
Week 5. Okay, so does everybody? I mean,
Here's
Lily,
the title for the video.
You've been quite quiet, Lily. How are you doing?
She's on mute. Have you been? Hi. I hope you haven't said anything, because.
No.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Well, it's good to hear all the progresses that you're making. So you're beginning to do the testing. That's great. I just want to report my progress since the last time I was on the call. The last component that I was working on was the multiple user signature issue, and I thought I could just drop it, but somehow I went back to the instructions and Jonathan's instructions, and he actually said that the record was saved. So I thought, okay, since the record is saved in the database, I should be able to access it. And I was able to modify the demo code that he provided for multi-user. And I made it work the way I wanted. So basically, this is how it's going to act. The client answers all the questions, signs. So then I send him to the kind of final screen, but it's not a real final screen. So on the screen, I say, okay, you have completed your interview. Here's your file. Take a look. If you like it, send this link to your attorney. Ask him to sign. And then on the bottom of the screen, there's a check button. He can keep checking it. If their signature, if the attorney signed, then the button will bring him to the real final screen where he can download the final file. If and while he is waiting, the attorney signs in, and then he gets to see that same file with the client's signature only. And if he likes, there's a button which actually is an action button that directs him to a special screen which he asks his signature, and after he signs, then it brings him to the final screen where he can see the file with his signature on it. So now on the client side, if the attorney signs on the same day, he's on that screen, that's great. But if it takes a while, he can just leave the screen, come back to, what was it called? My interview. Oh, what's it called? My interview. There's a screen where then you can pick up your previous interview record. So when he clicks on that link, it brings him to the final screen, and he sees the file with both signatures. So the lot. I mean, I worked it out in a very, very simple interview, which just asks names and the signatures.
Can you like keep that interview that way and like post a link to it or something, so we can like just don't edit or make a copy of it or something that we can keep up as a demo?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay.
With this, maybe kind of like this. Yeah, Lily, that sounds fantastic. When I was looking at the 209A affidavit, does it require a witness signature or?
I don't know. This isn't for the 209A.
No, I know, but it doesn't. This isn't something that we're going to have to implement.
No, the only reason that you would do something like this now would be, and we wouldn't do it right now, is because if your affidavit's translated, and then you have to go back and forth because you have to get a translator's affidavit, and then they have to set. So no, right now we don't need it.
This is only the financial statement, but Lily, it sounds fantastic.
And FYI, we're working it out with the courts so that they will translate the affidavits as they're transmitted. So basically,
but the thing about that is that they can translate the affidavit, but then and maybe the court is changing this, but the important thing is that once the affidavit is translated, then the translator needs to read it back to the person who
So the court's trying to work all that out, and we're working with the translation services. The point is, we do not probably have to work that out on our interface.
Or the affidavits being signed, or the translation signature. That's the thing that you're talking about. Right?
So that would be basically, we'll take what we have, give it to the court, and the court will figure it out.
Okay. But Lily, it sounds like you've done something really cool there. I
I want to see what that looks like, and we can apply it maybe in the future when
if that kind of similar situation comes up. But otherwise, guys, I'm very aware it's
also in the form Lily was doing, it does come up, but
it's financial statement. It's financial statement, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to add a caveat to that. Right now, I only made it worked for Word template.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you think this can be useful down the road, I can keep looking and see if I can make it work for like a PDF or combination of PDF and a Word.
Well,
That would be a really good exercise for volunteers, because not to ask Lily to go through the financial stuff. Lily and I have already had a conversation about the number of fields on a PDF.
Hundreds, literally hundreds.
She kind of goes into conniptions. So she's talking about it. But I think that would be a great idea to have somebody else go through and name all the fields, make a fillable financial statement and name the fields. And that could use a lot of Lily's work on that. If we decided that we were going to produce a financial statement as a PDF. I mean, use the PDF as a template.
Right. No, what I mean is this. What I mean is that the signature portion of it, right now, the sample interview that I created that deals with multi-user signature is only based on a Word template. I tried to make it work for a PDF file. I couldn't. So I said, right now I'm just going to drop it. I'm going to ask the team and see if they feel it's worth to keep trying to make the PDF version work. I'm not saying go back.
She's saying programmatically. There has to be work done on the code to make it work with a PDF as well. And would it be worth her taking the time to make that work?
Correct.
And this would be as a demo for new PDF, because we wouldn't ask you to redo the as a PDF.
Oh, no,
just keep it as a Word file.
There's
no problem with a Word file from the court's point of view, as far as I know.
Maybe
we only chose PDFs because it seemed easier for us to split up the work. If we had thought Word files are better, I would have really pushed the courts to give us Word files for all of the forms.
Yeah.
No, I think PDF is great. It's only the one I was working on also because I had all other kind of technical issues. So I finally decided to switch to Word. But I think PDF has many advantages. One of them is that the formatting, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about like a page break and all the formatting.
That is a good advantage.
Shifted around, all that things. So I'm fine with PDF.
So I think for now, what you've done sounds excellent, and I think you don't have to put further effort into the PDF side of things for now. But maybe when we, come to it to that point in our projects, we can assess kind of what the needs are and get back to you on.
We know that you've done it. You have to reinvent the wheel if we come across something like that, because I'm very aware of people's time here, and I know that Lily, it was really good to hear about that and everything like that. But if anybody else needs to jump off, or if we need to wrap this up, I know it looks like David is trying to wrangle like one of his kids. I don't know. So I just want to not go into the weeds on this aspect, which isn't exactly urgent at the moment.
Okay.
So is everyone okay with that? We can just wrap this up, and then we can go on the Slack. And Lily, if you could just send us that stuff that you have in the channel, in the assembly line channel, that'd be really, really helpful.
Okay, so just post on the assembly line.
Yeah,
okay.
And then we know that it's there if we ever need it, right?
One more thing, I messed with the escape button. Sorry, wait, I interrupted. Sorry. Yeah, it'll be on Slack.
Actually, right. I want to ask a question. Then should we have a special area just for code sharing? That way it's all there if anyone needs code.
We can make David, can you make a code channel? It would be good to have a place to talk about code.
We did actually speak about that, making it so that people can ask code questions.
At what point are we? So there's the doc assemble Slack. So Quentin's smiling. He has thoughts.
No, I'm just thinking. You're going to say
there is the doc assemble Slack.
Wait.
Nobody
on Nicole. So
no.
You have to ask Nicole every time we add a channel, or do you?
No, it's now me.
That's good.
Okay,
the channels are.
So the doc assemble channel does exist. No one talks on it. Quentin and I post there all the time. No one responds, and everybody asks me personal questions about code things in the A to J Slack. So it would be
Okay.
really helpful if we could
Yeah.
just have all those conversations gathered in a spot.
Assembly line dash code coming up.
That's right.
Thank you. And that's where people can ask debugging questions as well, and that it'll be quite helpful, I think. Instead of people always DMing the developers, you can then
Yes.
just search through that and see, oh, this has already been asked before, or this error has come up before. That was one of the rationale for having
And we're good
this.
with assembly line dash
I
code.
really wish
as
we
a
could make a Stack
name.
Overflow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. Someone did a while ago on the DocAssemble Slack post something about a tool that will automatically archive Slacks because you run into the limit.
Oh, that's
really
good. Yeah.
quickly on a free Slack environment. So we should figure that out before we start posting stuff to search, because then we know it will be searchable later.
Well,
I
okay.
It might take
Someone
a
should
couple of months
volunteer for
before
that
this.
task. I think I have like 7 things lined up I'm supposed to do right now. So.
Okay. There's now an assembly line dash code. You should be able to discover it in the channels.
We'll probably have
Awesome.
a while before we run into that message limit, but
Thank
there is
you,
a
David.
point at which the free Slack will stop letting you search.
Yeah. 10,000.
10,000.
And also there's a date. It also is date limited. So it starts removing them after they're X or Y days old or months old or something.
Yeah. This team has already hit the limit. So there's stuff that's on here that not from our using
Oh,
it, but from other
no.
people using it from before.
Oh no. Okay. Well,
So I can still
someone
see
should
back at
figure
the
that
beginning
out.
of all of our stuff, but this is also one of the
Okay.
reasons why to have why we have our tasks and everything on Trello as opposed to.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yep. It's just there have been a lot of conversations in here that have been in
Oh, this is
Slack that
Quentin's-
didn't make it to.
this is Quentin's point.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
So what do we have to figure out? The overflow.
So Stack Overflow, we can't do that, so we don't have to talk about that more.
Okay.
There's a free tool that integrates with Slack that will archive your posts as you go,
Yeah.
and then it makes it searchable forever on a separate website from the Slack environment. So that
We can't do that.
does have privacy issues, I guess. Although
That
we've
we
been
can do.
really sharing out the Slack invites, so that may not matter. It'll be indexed publicly, perhaps, although I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked that closely at this tool.
Is it just the public messages?
Yeah, it wouldn't be DMs. You have to add it to a specific channel.
Okay, that's good.
What is it Slark?
It's good because otherwise all the bad things I've been saying about everybody would have to come out into the open.
On Slack? You've been saying bad things about people on Slack.
That's a joke. It was meant to be dry
I
humor, but apparently
caught
I'm
it.
not
I
that
caught it.
obvious.
I got
You got it.
Caroline, you found something already on Google. Actually, I don't know what it was called, so that we could just see which
Slark?
It's
best.
something called Slark, a place to keep your valuable conversations. Online archives. Authorize slark.com to access your Slack team and have always up-to-date copy of messages you yourself have access to. I don't know if that's it.
Sounds like
That's
it.
cool.
SLARCK.
We want to make sure that it doesn't do DM because that sounds like it might do DMs and private messages, and we just want to make sure because we don't know what how their security is. So, but yeah, that sounds like a great
Yeah.
lead. Thank you,
Yeah,
Caroline.
we want to be able to add channels.
And there's somebody on Reddit who wrote a tool to archive all public and private channels. So yeah, I think there's quite a bit out here.
That's awesome. Do you think you could? No, you have other stuff to do on 209A. Never mind.
Again, we're
Techie
probably not
volunteer.
going to.
Find one of your techie volunteers.
Also, we're probably not going to reach the 10,000 limit back to the beginning of this by the end of phase 1.
Okay,
So
good.
Just a sometime thing.
We put it on the thing of like the help button.
Someone make an issue for it.
Can I just
So that
ask
we
a
can
question that
find it
from
again?
the beginning of the conversation?
Sure.
I got a little bit confused because I thought we had this worksheet of bugs and issues, and I thought somebody said that Quentin didn't want it to be issues on GitHub. Did I miss something there? You want it. Is there something you don't want?
No. I just wanted us to trim down because the list was from the beginning of the first test that we did like a month ago. I wanted to just clean those out.
Oh, I see.
Only
Gotcha.
based on the issues in the current code.
All right. Oh, okay. All right.
But
Then we
I
have to
mean, we
leave
haven't had a
so
chance to
they're
clean them out. We haven't had a chance to clean them out, so they're just closed right now, and we'll reopen them if when, as people are able to go through the backlog, we'll reopen what is relevant.
Okay.
I'm hoping that can be done today or tomorrow.
I mean, not if I'm the one doing them, but sure.
So I'm in the labeling and
Oh,
doing
okay.
that stuff. So getting them ready for you to go through.
Okay, that sounds good.
It'll be a while before we can go back. There were a lot of those tasks that were pretty old, so it may not be as urgent to take away from other things that people are doing. But if we have volunteers, that's great, because then we can make sure we don't miss anything important. I just suspect they're all based on forms people had in progress a month ago. They won't be as helpful for us, because we basically had 2 batches of issues. We put out a call several weeks ago, and then we had the ones that were just this weekend. And I suspect the ones ago just are going to be out of date.
Some of them are wording, like any of them might be relevant or irrelevant. We'll figure it out. No worries.
So my other question about that is, if we do, should we always use the Google Sheet for issues, or can we put issues in GitHub directly, or do you prefer which makes more sense?
I think using GitHub directly, you just have a little bit more control if you're comfortable with that tool.
Okay.
And the other way of submitting it through Google Forms gets synced with GitHub issues so that we can see them in one place when we're a developer.
And not just that, so that people without GitHub accounts can make them. Because to make a GitHub issue, you have to have a GitHub account.
No,
And
I
also
just
people aren't
asking
comfortable with GitHub. So.
if you wanted us only to use this.
No,
No.
Basically the forms. Okay.
Yeah, the reason for the sync up is so that the developers can all look on GitHub issues. So don't worry about putting it through the other process.
Okay.
If you can use GitHub issues.
Guys, it's now 1:30. I think we need to wrap up.
Yep.
I'm already eating my dinner. So hey, that's what I'm at. I'm gonna just take a quick break, and then I'm gonna come and do those PDFs, and then we'll talk on Slack.
So message me at 2:00. I have a thing about message me about the PDFs, and then
so we can
do a bit or something. Yeah, I have a thing at 2, but
what's the time now? 1:30.
If I'll.
How long is your 2:00 thing? Okay,
if all else fails, make a branch per PDF. All right, later, everyone.
Bye.
I'm serious. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Sure.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.